Part 6. 80s, After marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 51. Ning 11 helped Jiangying get out of the car. The two of them squatted by the stream and washed themselves, patted the dust on their bodies, arranged their clothes, untied the messy hair, pulled it with their hands a few times, and reshaped it. Second sister-in-law, you have to adjust your mood. When you go back later, you have to pretend that nothing happened. You must not let anyone find out the clues. Xiao 11, Jiangying fixed her hair and looked at Ning 11 with a confused expression. Why didn't you call the police? We were almost bullied. Why didn't you call the police? If you call the police, everyone in the village will know. Even if you tell them that those people didn't succeed, they won't believe it and will talk nonsense behind your back. Jiangying lowered her head, tears falling down her cheeks. Xiao 11, will your second brother not want me anymore? Ning 11 hurriedly stepped forward and wiped Jiangying's tears. Second sister-in-law, please don't think so wildly. Those people didn't succeed. Jiangying's tears fell even more fiercely, but, as you said, no one will believe it. Even if your second brother wants to believe me, it's useless. There are so many mouths in the village, and everyone can drown us with just one word. Ning 11 held Jiangying's face and said with a serious face, so we can't talk about it, and we can't let outsiders know about it. Jiangying looked at Ning 11 blankly for a while before asking, if you don't tell me, is it really okay? What if those people come to us again, or they go to the village and talk nonsense? Those people must shut up. Ning 11 pulled Jiangying down, poured some water and helped her wash her face, then pulled her back into the car and continued riding home. Second sister-in-law, although we can't let people in the village know about this matter, we can tell our second brother and brother Nan. I believe them, and they will believe us. And only by telling them can brother Nan help us find those people, solve this matter. But Jiangying bit her lip and cried again. She covered her face in fear and huddled in the tricycle. What if your second brother doesn't believe me? Then don't tell him, just tell brother Nan. Even if brother Nan doesn't believe us, he won't tell the second brother about this matter. He is not a talkative person, and he will not use this matter to destroy you and the second brother. Marriage. Jiangying grabbed Ning 11's clothes nervously. What about you? What should you do if he knows about this? I believe he will believe me. Ning 11 turned to Jiangying and smiled slightly. Of course, if he doesn't believe me, I will admit it, and I will also tell him that he is my husband and he has the right to know. Or, take this opportunity to see if he has basic trust in her. If not, she will leave Sichuan and never come back, never see him again. Jiangying looked at the confident Ning 11 blankly. Yes. That was her husband, and he had the right to know. Jiangying was still very uneasy, but she also figured out that if He couldn't understand her, it was her fate that was not to blame. Okay, tell them to. The two reached a consensus and fell into silence. It was not until they reached the entrance of the village that Ning 11 spoke up and said, second sister-in-law, come home, cheer up. Well, Jiangying stopped crying a long time ago. She touched her face and forced herself to smile. After lunch later, you and your second brother came to see me and said we were discussing again. Yeah, Jiangying responded. Before the two people's plan could be realized, the salesmen who came to order canned fruits from Lu's house were already queuing up to the entrance of the village. The apricots made yesterday were sold out in the morning. Now these people are waiting for the new ones. Of canned food. Lu Nan promised to continue production today, with a limit of 200 bottles per person. Wang Ziyukan and Aunt Yang came out of the house carrying a pot of apricots. When they saw Ning 11 and Jiangying, they stopped and asked, why is it so late today? Ning 11 jumped out of the car and explained with a smile, brother Nan asked someone to help modify the car. We went to pick up the car. My second sister-in-law and I don't know much about riding bikes, so we learned this while walking. You're pregnant. What if you're learning to drive? What if you fall? Wang Ziyukan said something to Ning 11, and then started scolding Zhang Ying. Yingzi, you are too. Xiao 11 is pregnant, and you don't stop her. Zhang Ying got out of the car. Mom, I was wrong. Ning 11 immediately smiled and said, second aunt, don't talk about second sister-in-law. It was second sister-in-law who was riding before. I only learned to ride for a while when I was approaching the village. Wang Ziyukan said nothing more and urged the two of them to go back to the house to eat. Okay. Go back and eat first. Ning 11 and Zhang Ying were eating in the kitchen at the moment. Lu He had already rushed into the kitchen in a hurry. Xiao 11, Yingzi, please finish your meal quickly and mix some seasonings. The seasonings for spicy strips and dried fish are gone. Today's spicy food is hot. As soon as the strips and dried fish were made, people snatched them away, and the orders from yesterday's stores hadn't even had time to finish. I know, second brother Ning 11 responded, quickly took the food in the bowl into her mouth, glanced at Zhang Ying again, and whispered, second sister-in-law, cheer up, there are so many people at home. People, go ahead and let others see the clues. After dinner, you go back to the house and change your clothes before you come out to help. We will talk about it tonight. Zhang Ying also knew that she was busy at home and did not dare to stuff food into her mouth. Throughout the afternoon, everyone was almost too busy to touch the ground. After seeing off the salesman, it was completely dark outside. The workers were exhausted and sat listlessly on the ground, beating their legs and hands. At the end of the day, it's almost time for a day of farm work. Lu Nan pushed a wheelchair and appeared in front of everyone. Everyone has worked hard. Thank you for your willingness to work so hard for us. Everyone is tired. My second aunt cooked noodles. Everyone wants to finish eating the noodles and then go back to rest. Lu He also smiled and greeted everyone. Everyone is exhausted today, so we all got up to eat noodles. Xiao 11 specially asked my mother to lay an egg for everyone. What are you talking about, Zionan? Since we come to work with you, we must not be lazy. That's right, if you're lazy, you won't get paid. There are still eggs to eat, so I have to hurry up. I haven't eaten eggs for a long time. Can you take it back? My kid will definitely like it. Everyone who was already exhausted slowly stood up, walked to the stone table, and picked up bowls of noodles in an orderly manner. Ning 11 and the others also ate the noodles. Everyone either sat or stood holding a bowl of noodles and slurping on them. Not to mention that the noodles felt a lot more fragrant when there were so many people. After finishing the noodles, Ning 11 gave Lu Nan a look when she saw some people were ready to put down their bowls and leave. Lu Nan gave her a dissatisfied look, put down his bowls and chopsticks and said loudly, one more thing, because everyone's workload is indeed quite heavy now, we decided to give everyone a salary increase after discussion. Each person will receive 45 yuan per month. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 52. Chapter 52 Night Talk. After Lu Nan finished speaking, there was silence for a moment. Even the sound of slurping noodles disappeared. After a few seconds, someone took a breath and raised his hand to sign 45. That voice seemed to pull everyone back from the void, and everyone began to whisper, those workers in the town can't get such high wages. My boy can only earn 45 yuan after working half a year. Much more profitable than online fishing. I, an old woman, can actually make money, and I can make more money than men. As long as I do it for a month, my son can go back to school next semester. A group of people talked a lot, and some were so excited that they even shed tears. For them, making more than 10 yuan a month is already great. Now it will be directly increased to 45 yuan for them. This is something they never dared to hope for before. Uncles and aunts, as long as you work hard and follow our requirements, as long as we make money, we will definitely not lose anyone. Louis blushed after saying this. Don't say such things anymore, I can't even think about it. He knew that Ning 11 asked him and Lu Nan to stand in front and make the decision, and said these words to encourage the workers, in order to establish the image of him and Lu Nan. He felt that there was no need for Ning 11 to do this. It didn't matter who made the decision or who was in charge. It was good to make money, but Ning 11 insisted on pushing him and Lu Nan ahead, so the two of them had no choice but to stand up. Thank you, boss. Thank you, Zionan, Ziahe, thank you very much. A group of people immediately came forward to thank the two. After the workers left, everyone went home to wash up and get ready to rest. When Ning 11 came out of the shower, Jianying had already brought Louis over. The two of them sat in Ning 11 and Lu Nan's room and talked with Lu Nan. Louis was very excited and kept talking about how much grain they had recycled today, how many cans they had sent out, and how much deposit they had collected. Jianying sat quietly aside. Lu Nan frowned slightly, always feeling that something was wrong with Jianying today. Not only Jianying, but also his wife's daughter-in-law had something wrong this afternoon. Ning 11 stood at the door for a while, then walked into the house, closed the door gently, walked to the desk and sat down. She picked up today's account book and looked at it before saying aloud, "The food at home is almost full. Tomorrow find some agricultural trucks and come back. Second brother, you are responsible for following the trucks to deliver the grain to the grain station for redemption." Okay, Louis immediately nodded in agreement, and immediately asked, "Where are you going to find a car?" "In the town. When Secretary Joe gave us a tricycle today, he asked us if we wanted more apricots. He said that they have a lot of apricots in Zhang village. If I want it, he can send us the agricultural vehicles in the town. Nan brother, call Secretary Joe tomorrow morning and ask him to arrange for 2 cars to come over, and tell him, by the way, we will go see Xingzi tomorrow afternoon." Lu Nan had no objection to Ning 11 going to Zancan to collect apricots, and nodded and said, "Okay. In addition, we need to find some more workers to do 2 shifts, day and night, and we are the only one producing canned fruits now. The salesmen can only come to our house to pick up canned fruits, and they are willing to wait no matter how long it takes. But if other canned fruit workshops appear and the commissions they can get are higher than now, everyone will go elsewhere without hesitation. Workshops to buy cans." Louis was a little anxious, then we still collect so many apricots. If everyone runs away, how can we sell the cans? So we need to quickly make more canned fruits before others compete with us, so that we can seize the opportunity and make more money. Louis was a little confused. He seemed to understand but not understand. In the end, he simply shook his head and was too lazy to continue thinking. Anyway, Ning 11 had already figured out what to do, so he just did as she said. After talking about business, Ning 11 sat up straight. "There is one more thing I want to tell you." Jianying had a premonition that Ning 11 was about to say that, so she couldn't help but tremble, and nervously clutched her clothes. "Second sister-in-law and I met a gangster when we came back today." Ning 11 looked at Lu Nan for a moment as she spoke. If Lu Nan dared to show the slightest hint of disgust, she would leave him without attachment. Before she could see the expression on his face, Jianying had already hurriedly explained, but nothing happened. "Really, Xiao 11 knocked those people unconscious, either unconscious, or. Jianying was anxious. She didn't know how to explain it, because she didn't even know what happened at that time and how Ning 11 knocked those people out. Seeing that Jianying was about to burst into tears, Ning 11 also gave up observing Lu Nan and explained, "When I was preparing to go out to set up a stall, my second aunt told me what to do if a girl's family encounters trouble when she goes out. I remember this in my heart. I specially prepared 2 silver needles soaked in anesthetic and hid them in my clothes. At that time, I used the silver needles to kill 2 people and injured another person with a stone. Lu He pulled Jiang Ying up and looked up and down anxiously. Why did this happen? Are you injured? Why didn't you tell me when you came back at noon? Do you know those people? Did you call the police? Jiang Ying bit her lip and shook her head, not knowing what to say or how to say it. I didn't call the police. If I had, the whole village would know. My second sister-in-law and I don't even know if you believe us, so why? Nonsense, Lu He interrupted Ning 11 angrily. Second brother Lu Nan stood in front of Ning 11 almost instantly and glared at Lu He with a sullen face. He was very angry. He was almost furious when something like this happened to his wife. The reason why he hasn't had an attack yet is because he didn't want to scare his little wife, but that didn't mean he could allow his brother to get angry at his wife. Why are you so angry at Xiao 11? If it weren't for Xiao 11, you would have had to look at my body today. Jiang Ying was also anxious, raised her hand and slapped Lu He, and tears fell down. If you are angry, go to me. If you want a divorce, I have no objection. Don't get angry at Xiao 11. It's not her fault. Okay Yingzi. Lu He grabbed Yingzi's hand, held her in his arms, and quickly explained, I'm sorry Xiao 11, I don't mean to get angry at you, I just want to say, how could I not believe you? After explaining clearly to Ning 11, Lu He hurriedly coaxed his wife in his arms. Okay, don't cry anymore. I'm really not angry at Xiao 11, and I'm not angry with you either. I'm just worried about you. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 53. Second brother should be angry with me. Those people are here for me. If it weren't for me, second sister-in-law would not have encountered this kind of thing today. Ning 11 lowered her head guiltily, wondering what happened to her when she relived her life. She is not afraid and will face it with gritted teeth, but she should not harm Jiang Ying. Lu He sighed. Xiao 11, don't say that. This is not your fault, it's those people's fault. Xiao Nan, see if there is a way to find those people. This matter can't be left alone. Well, we can't let it go like this. Lu Nan glanced at Jiang Ying and saw that Jiang Ying's mood had slowly stabilized before continuing. Second brother, starting from tomorrow, you and second sister-in-law will go to the market to set up stalls together. I'll call my aunt tomorrow to ask my aunt to help us rent a house near the textile factory. Then you and the second sister-in-law will move there first and continue to set up a stall in the town. Zioxi and I will handle the business at home. Lu He frowned. I won't go tomorrow. I'll let your second sister-in-law rest for a few days. Jiang Ying immediately shook her head. No, Xiao 11 has said before that spicy strips and dried fish are long-term business and must not be left behind. Second brother, the more important it is to go out at this time, don't let anyone see any clues. The person least qualified to speak at the moment was Ning 11, so her voice was very low when she spoke, and her attitude was also special. And Lu Nan also said, if you feel sorry for the second sister-in-law, go out tomorrow and let the second sister-in-law sit next to you and rest while you set up a stall yourself. 3 people said this, and Lu He could only nod his head silently. Lu Nan sent Lu He and his wife out. After leaving the door, Lu He turned around and said, Xiao Nan, you will find those people. Lu He knew that his younger brother was very capable and had connections in the town. He didn't have the ability to find those people, so he had to rely on his younger brother. Lu Nan nodded, yes. You and Xiao 11 have a good talk. I really don't mean to blame her, I'm just nervous about your second sister-in-law. Lu Nan nodded, go back and rest. You have to get up early tomorrow. After Lu He and his wife left, Lu Nan closed the door and returned to the house. Ning 11 was already sterilizing the silver needle and preparing to give him the injection. No more pricking today, go to bed early. No, your legs have just reacted a little, you must hold on. At Ning 11's insistence, Lunan still got the acupuncture. After the injection, he held her in his arms, kissed her lips, and asked softly, "Do you know who did it?" One of the four people was very timid. "I just threatened him, and he persuaded me, saying that a man named Wang Ergu asked them to do it, and they wanted to take me back and hand me over to someone." "Okay, I understand. I'll take care of the rest." He gently touched her head. "Cry if you want. In front of your man, you don't need to hold back." Click, click, click. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, crystal tears fell down Ning 11's eyelids. She was a few years younger than Zhang Ying. She was originally very afraid of that kind of thing because of what happened in her previous life. She didn't shed them after the accident. A drop of tears kept comforting Zhang Ying. Does she really not want to cry? No, it's not. She did not dare to cry. Zhang Ying was about to collapse at that time. If she cried too, Zhang Ying would only collapse further and cry harder. She had been holding back and returning home. When she saw Lunan, she couldn't help but want to cry several times, but she still held it back because she was afraid that outsiders would know about it and that they would see her vulnerable side. "I'm sorry, I made you feel wronged. It was my fault this time. I didn't consider your safety. It won't happen again in the future. I promise that this will never happen again in the future, and I will never let anyone hurt my sweet baby again." He gently comforted her and kissed her over and over again until she tired in his arms and fell into a deep sleep. This time she was really frightened. She felt uncomfortable even when she fell asleep. She clutched his clothes tightly with her little hands, and seemed to be sobbing from time to time like a child. I was sure that the person in my arms had fallen asleep. The man who was so tender a second ago now had a terrifyingly gloomy face. No matter who hurts her or tries against her, they must pay the price. Asterisk. In the early morning, the mist filled the air and the surrounding scenery was blurry. As soon as Wang Ziyukan opened the door, more than a dozen people walked into the yard in an orderly manner, and everyone got busy with a clear division of labor. They just announced a salary increase yesterday, and it was still better than the town. The wages of those workers on the job are higher. Although no one in the Lu family said they wanted to start work early, everyone has consciously come to work early. Lu Zhengai also got up early and had already prepared breakfast. After Lu Nan finished washing, the father and son sat in the kitchen to have breakfast. Lu Nan peeled an egg for himself. "Dad, when you make porridge in the morning, you can add some vegetable leaves or minced meat to it. When the porridge is cooked, add a little lard and salt to it." Xiao 11 doesn't like it very much. "White porridge?" Lu Zhengai nodded good-naturedly. "Okay, you have to tell me how you like to eat." "You should have heard what happened last night." Lu Nan raised his head and looked at Lu Zhengai. The second brother and his wife were very loud last night, and it was impossible for his father not to hear it. Lu Zhengai had indeed heard everything and had no intention of hiding it. "You have to comfort Xiao 11. Even if you don't like to talk normally, you don't know how uncomfortable it will be to comfort her at this time." I know Lu Nan actually wanted to tell his father not to look down on Xiao 11 or say something unpleasant because of this incident, but he didn't expect that his father would give him a lesson first. Xiao 11 had a different view on things, and he was relieved. Ning 11 opened her eyes in a daze in the room. She cried for a long time last night and her eyes were swollen. When she opened her eyes were a little blurry and her eyes hurt. The people around him were gone, but the quilt was still warm. He must have just woken up not long ago. She lay on the bed blankly, her mind flashing back to the way he gently coaxed her last night. He also said she was his good baby last night. Gosh! She never knew that Lunan could say such disgusting words of love. Her face turned red unconsciously, and she raised her hands to cover her face, with a sweet smile that only a girl should have on her lips. "Wake up, come and apply some compress on your eyes." His voice sounded coldly in his ears. She quickly put away her smile and put down her hand. Lunan folded the towel and put it over her eyes. "It's so cold." She was shocked by the coldness and wanted to reach out to take off the towel, but he grabbed her hand. "The water just drawn from the well must be ice cold. Applying it obediently can reduce swelling." She knew that cold compresses can dissolve it, and she didn't grab a towel. "What time is it?" Lunan glanced at his watch. 5:20. "Are the second brother and second sister-in-law gone?" "Not yet. There is a tricycle so I can go out later." Lunan took out the towel, soaked it again and applied it to her face. "It just so happens that you don't have to get up early today. The mask you made hasn't been used yet. How about I apply it on you by the way?" Ning 11 immediately refused. "No, the salesman will be here later." "Okay, then apply it at night." After applying a cold compress for a while, Ning 11's eyes were slightly better than before. When she finished packing and left the house, Lu He and Zhang Ying happened to come over with their backpacks. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 54. "Good morning, Xiao 11, Zhang Ying greeted Ning 11 with a smile. Zhang Ying must have cried for a long time after returning last night and her eyes were swollen, but judging from her current appearance, she should be fine. Ning 11 also smiled and greeted the two of them. "Good morning, second brother and second sister-in-law." "Morning," Lu He responded with a smile and poured the spicy sticks he made yesterday into his backpack. "Xiao 11, we have a car now, why don't we take some more out? Just bring as much as before. You can't eat this stuff, and customers can't buy it every day. If you bring too much, you won't be able to sell it, and you won't be too lazy to take it back." "Okay, I'll listen to you," Lu He responded with a smile. "Second brother, take a few cans out to try today. You don't have to recommend them to others. If anyone asks, just tell them. If no one asks, forget it." Lu He and Zhang Ying had no objection to what Ning 11 said, and took 10 bottles of canned fruit before going out. At around 6 o'clock, salesmen were already coming one after another. Lu Zhengai first collected the food that everyone brought and paid their bills. Those who wanted canned fruits had to queue up outside Wang Ziyukan's house. There was no stock at home. This was a big problem. There weren't many canned fruits out this morning, so if you wanted canned food, you had to wait in line. Ning 11 walked around Wang Ziyukan, then around the village, looking for more than 50 people, and finally went to Su Hua's house. Su Hua was the daughter-in-law of her seventh uncle Ning Fukuo, and Ning Fukuo was the third grandfather. Although his youngest son was influenced by his third grandfather, he treated Ning 11 quite well. Ning Fukuo was about to go out with his hoe. When he saw Ning 11, he stopped and said, "Xiao 11 is here." Uncle 7 Ning 11 greeted her and explained her purpose of visit with a smile. "Is Aunt Hua here?" "Wash the dishes in the kitchen. You go find her yourself. I have to go to the fields, so I'm going out first." After saying this, Ning Fukuo was about to leave. Ning 11 quickly called Ning Fukuo, "Uncle Chi, I have something to ask you." Ning Fukuo put down his and asked, "What's going on?" "Uncle Chi, I want to ask you to come to my house to help make canned fruits." "It's done." Ning Fukuo immediately nodded in agreement. Now the whole village knows that Ning 11's family is making canned fruits. Last night, they should have heard that everyone's wages have been increased to 45 a month. Everyone wanted to go to such a good opportunity to make money. Ning Fukuo also wanted to go to Ning 11 and ask if he could help. He also thought that a large number of talents in the Ning family had made Ning 11 angry a few days ago. Although he did not participate, he is also a member of the Ning family, so he has no shame to go to Ning 11. Uncle Chi, I arranged 2 classes, with 30 people in each class. The morning class is from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m., and the evening class is from 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. There is an hour's rest time at noon and evening. There are 2 classes. It changes once a week. I have already told Uncle Wu that Uncle Chi and Uncle Wu will take charge of 1 class each. Uncle Wu will take charge of the morning shift first, and Uncle Chi will take charge of the evening shift. This is the list of night shift workers. Ning 11 opened her notebook and tore off a piece of paper and handed it to Ning Fukuo. Uncle Wu, I have written it down for you clearly about what you have to do every day and how to arrange the workers. Entwater is literate. Just ask Entwater to read it to you. Ning Fukuo took the paper and said, okay. Because you and Uncle Wu are also responsible for managing the workers, the salary I will give you is 55 a month. Okay, thank you Xiao 11, I will do a good job. Ning Fukuo's face almost broke out with laughter. It was so good that he also made money, and it was 10 yuan more than the others. Xiao 11 is here. Suhwater walked out of the kitchen and saw Ning 11. She was very happy and immediately waved, what are you doing standing at the door? Come inside and sit down. Ning Fukuo immediately realized that they were still standing at the door and smiled awkwardly, look at me, I didn't even let you in. Come in and sit down. After entering the house, Ning 11 also mentioned the second purpose of coming here today, Entwater, I have one more thing I want to ask you for help with today. What's the matter? Now most of the people in the village have gone to help my house, and there are fewer people going out to catch fish. I would like you to help me tell my uncle and ask him to help me catch more small fish. How much do you want? Suhwater said before that she wanted her natal family to help Ning 11 catch small fish, but because the Ning family forced Ning 11 to do something that day, she was too embarrassed to go to Ning 11 again about this matter. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. About 2,000 jins, let's start with 2,000 jins. According to the current situation, this will be enough to last until next summer. If business gets better, I can add some more before winter. Xiao 11, are you sure it's 2,000 pounds? Suhwater asked again, unable to believe her ears. Yeah. It's 2,000 kilograms. After you make the dried fish, don't send it here for now. I'm going to rent a house in the town. When the house is rented, I'll let you know. You ask my uncle and the others to help me deliver the fish. Go to town. Suhwater quickly nodded and agreed, okay, no problem. After sitting for a while, Ning 11 came out of Ningfu country. As soon as she went out, she met Ning Laoba, the eldest son of Grandpa Fifth. When Ning Laoba saw Ning 11, he immediately stepped forward to stop her. Ning 11, I heard that you are recruiting people. Your 8th aunt is busy at home, so she happened to go to your house to help. Your sister-in-law is also going. Your 8th aunt is also there. My sister will go too. Ah! Ning 11 laughed angrily. Ning Laoba really regarded herself as an elder. Not only did he want to arrange for his wife and daughter-in-law to work with her, he also wanted to bring his sister-in-law in as well. It has only been a few days, and he has forgotten how he and his father forced her a few days ago, or has he forgotten how his wife beat her and embarrassed her before? Unable to get an answer, Ning Laoba said with a straight face, Ning 11, I'm talking to you, do you hear me? Ning 11 glanced at Ning Laoba with disgust, my family is not short of people for the time being. There is no shortage of people, so just hire a few people. How can outsiders be more willing to help you than your own family members? Outsiders are indeed better than my own family, at least they can sympathize with me and give me a bite to eat when I'm hungry. After saying these words, Ning 11 left without looking back. Behind her came Ning Laoba's roar, damn girl, your father was right. You are just a white-eyed wolf who doesn't recognize your relatives. You're right, I really don't intend to recognize you relatives. Ning 11 was worried about offending everyone in the Ning family before. After what happened that day, She was not even willing to maintain superficial harmony with these people. Just offend if you offend. Just in case anyone comes to her and arrogantly asks her to help arrange work. Around 10 o'clock, 2 agricultural vehicles arranged by Zhou Tong arrived. The vehicles could not enter the village, so Ning 11 arranged for workers to pick out the grain and load it into the vehicles. At about 11 o'clock, Ning 11 took Liu Bei on the farm vehicle and went to the town. Liu Bei would follow Ning 11. It was arranged by Lu Nan. He had inconvenient legs and feet and his family wanted him to watch over him, so he arranged for Liu Bei to follow him. Liu Bei had learned fighting from him for several years. When he met a gangster, he could also kill people. Beat away. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 55. Zhou Tong knew that they were coming to deliver food and was already waiting at the food station. As soon as Ning 11 jumped off the farm vehicle, Zhou Tong immediately greeted her with a smile, "Sister-in-law is here." "Secretary Zhou, why did you come here in person?" Ning 11 was a little embarrassed. She just used someone else's car and other people's connections, so why did she have someone come over in person? "Isn't my sister-in-law going to Zanken in the afternoon? I thought there would be nothing to do today. I will go to my sister-in-law's house for a meal at noon, and then I will go to Zanken with my sister-in-law in the afternoon." Zhou Tong had already said hello to the village. He was afraid that Ning 11 would regret it and refuse to go to Zanken to buy apricots, so he deliberately came here to bet on Ning 11. Ning 11 could probably guess what Zhou Tong was thinking and didn't expose him. She smiled and nodded in agreement. After the two of them finished chatting, Station Master Zhang next to him stepped forward with a smile on his face and stretched out his hand to Ning 11. "Hello, Mrs. Liu, I am the station master of the grain station. Just call me Xiao Zhang." Xiao Zhang. This webmaster Zhang looks to be at least 40 years old. He asked a little girl to call her Xiao Zhang. He could bear it, but she didn't dare to call her. Ning 11 understood that Station Commander Zhang was doing this to give Zhou Tong face, and did not really think highly of herself. She immediately shook hands with Station Commander Zhang politely. "Hello, Station Commander Zhang. I'm Ning 11, just call me just a name." After getting to know each other, Station Master Zhang immediately asked people to move the grain into the warehouse. A large cart of grain was sold for 1,232 yuan. After taking the money, Ning 11 smiled and thanked Station Master Zhang. "Thank you, Station Master Zhang. It should be done, it should be done, Mrs. Liu, don't worry, Secretary Zhou has already said hello, I won't give any face to anyone this time, I will only recycle the food from Mrs. Liu's family. Only collect food from her family." Lu Nan said hello to Zhou Tong and stopped other people from sending food to the food station because she said last night that many canned fruit workshops would soon appear on the market. Since there is no way to send grain to the grain station, some people who want to take advantage of this opportunity to make a lot of money have to give up or think of other ways. Maybe they cannot cut off everyone, but at least they can reduce some competitors. Wanting to understand the reason, Ning 11 hurriedly thanked Station Master Zhang. "Thank you so much, Station Master Zhang." Station Master Zhang took a look around and made sure no one was around before whispering, "Mrs. Liu, my parents' apricots will be troublesome to you." It turns out that Station Master Zhang is also from Zanken. Understanding this, Ning 11 nodded. He had helped her so much, so she should help others collect the apricots. After coming out of the grain station, Ning 11 bought a few more iron pots and asked a truck to help take them back. She and Liu Bei took Zhou Tong's car back. On the way, she silently calculated the cost. A truck of grain cost more than 600 yuan. After the cost, with the 2 cents commission given to the salesman, the net profit should be around 330. The profit from one truck is more than 300 yuan. According to today's arrangement, At least 3 trucks of grain can be recovered every day, and the profit per day is 990 yuan. The total net profit from the spicy strips and dried fish sold yesterday was 510. According to this calculation, their income per day is 1,500 yuan in 7 days. It only takes 7 days to become a household worth 10,000 yuan. No, it's 14 days. It only takes 14 days for the couple and Zhang Ying to become households worth 10,000 yuan at the same time. With the first 10,000, there will be a second one, a third one. Ning 11 became more and more excited as she calculated, and her face, which had always been sullen, revealed a look of uncontrollable joy. Meals have been prepared at home, and Ning 11 took Zhou Tong to visit their small workshop. When the workers got off work, Wang Ziyukan also prepared a table of meals. When Zhang Ying and Lu He came back, everyone sat down to eat. There were many salesmen at the door, and Wang Ziyukan also arranged a table with the salesmen. They provided simple meals, but they didn't have to wait outside hungry. This also made the salesmen and their family more polite. Because he had to drive Ning 11 to Zankan in the afternoon, Zhou Tong didn't drink. He took some dried fish and put it into his mouth and chewed it. Sister-in-law, your small workshop is well made, is there any? Have you ever thought about making your products more formal? Secretary Zhou means to register a trademark and give the product a personal label. Yes, it will be made into a regular product. This canned fruit, dried fish, and spicy strips can be sent to the Supply and Marketing Cooperative. I can help you say hello to the Supply and Marketing Cooperative. We definitely need to register a trademark, especially in the future. There will be more and more small workshops producing canned fruits. If we don't register a trademark, if something goes wrong, it won't be my family's responsibility. The same applies to spicy strips and dried fish. It's too troublesome to weigh packages one by one. I plan to make them in bags, so they can be stored longer and sold in packages to save trouble. Ning 11 has considered these things, but her time is limited and she hasn't had time to do them yet. Fortunately, she doesn't have to go out to set up a stall now, so she can put all these things on her schedule. Sister-in-law is very far-sighted. Zhou Tong gave Ning 11 a thumbs up. He really admired her for having such great foresight at such a young age. Ning 11 was praised. Zhang Ying was extremely happy and immediately said arrogantly, "Our Xiao 11 is very capable." Second sister-in-law, you are not so boastful. Ning 11 smiled helplessly. Zhou Tong was able to secure his current position and was a very talented person. If Zhang Ying praised her in front of Zhou Tong, wouldn't that make people laugh? Sister-in-law deserves to be praised. If our Yao township can produce a few talented people like sister-in-law, are we afraid that we will not be able to get rich? After dinner, Ning 11 took Liu Bei and followed Zhou Tong to Zankan. Before going out, she packed a few packages of dried fish and spicy strips, one package for Zhou Tong, one package for Zhou Tong's father, and one package for Station Master Zhang. One bag each for the village chief's family. Zankan is halfway up a mountain. The road up the mountain is very steep. There are fruit trees everywhere on the steep slopes, all kinds of fruit trees. After passing the winding dirt road, we finally arrived at Zankan village. As soon as we arrived at the entrance of the village, we could see many villagers standing at the entrance of the village and looking out. Zhou Tong got out of the car with Ning 11 and Xiaobei, and a group of people immediately gathered around them. "Xiao Tong, I heard that you are bringing someone over to buy apricots. Xiao Tong, can you take care of my apricots first? If they are not picked, they will all rot in the ground. Brother Tong, my family is already ripe. What are you doing? Now that Secretary Zhou is back, can you still not solve the problem for everyone?" The village chief came late and scolded everyone. "Okay, everyone goes back first. It's such a hot day. If we are stuck here, if Secretary Zhou and the boss who came with us get heat stroke, no one will be able to sell any of their apricots." A group of people immediately made way for them. Zhou Tong quickly led Ning 11 and Liu Bei out of the encirclement, walked quickly back to Zhou's house, and invited people to come in and sit down. Zhou Tong turned around angrily and glared at the village chief. "Uncle, what are you doing? I'm calling. I already told you that my comrade in arms doesn't need many apricots, so I'll help deal with a few first, and then I'll figure out a way. Why are you still inciting the villagers to come and cause trouble?" Zhou Tong was troubled by these villagers. Recently, heads of several villages, led by Zankin, came to the office every day to ask for his help in solving problems. Apricots are not a high-selling fruit in the first place. He found a food factory to help solve a batch before, and he has been thinking of a solution now. Today he brought Ning 11 here just to help solve a few. Let the village chief do this today, and the whole village will know about it. If Ning 11 takes someone from Zankin, other people will make trouble. If Ning 11 takes someone from Zankin, people from other villages will make trouble if they find out. Isn't this causing trouble for him and Ning 11? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 56. The village chief immediately cried out, "Secretary Zhou, please don't accuse me of injustice. I didn't say anything. Who else knows about this if it's not you?" Zhou Tong glared at the village chief. "Uncle San, I know you want to help everyone, but I've made the situation clear to you. My comrades really can't take in many apricots. You caused the matter, you have to solve it yourself." "No, Secretary Zhou, you are making things difficult for me. You asked me to recommend which house you want to buy. When you see that other houses have been taken over, other people can't find you and will only come to my house to cause trouble. I have no choice but to." The village chief's voice became smaller and smaller as he spoke. This time he did something unkind, but he also had to do this because he was afraid that everyone would cause trouble for him. "I've told you many times that the problem will be solved, why can't you listen?" Zhou Tong glared at the village chief, then looked at Ning 11, "Sister-in-law, Station Master Wang's family has about 3,000 kilograms of apricots. Look, if you want more from him, tell the village chief and ask him to take you to meet him and discuss the price. I have to stay to appease the villagers." As the secretary and a member of Zankin, Zhou Tong really had no choice but to put the blame on the village chief and could only resolve the issue himself. "Second brother, what about our apricots? Last time you helped to deal with other families' apricots and ignored our own. If you don't deal with our own this time, my apricots will really rot in the ground." Zhou Min was responsible for Zhou's mother coming out of the kitchen. Zhou Min glared at Zhou Tong angrily. "Xiao Min, why are you making trouble? You don't know what's going on in the village now." How could Zhou Tong not know that the apricots at home are also ripe? But as a leader, at this time, he has no way to solve his own family's problems first. Bringing Ning 11 to Zankin to buy apricots is already considered selfish. People from other villages will already point their noses at him and scold him. If he only buys his own apricots, people in and outside the village will scold him to death. Mother Zhou patted Zhou Min's hand. "Okay Xiao Min, didn't I tell you before? Your eldest brother is the leader, he has his difficulties, we should support him and understand him." Zhou Min's tears of grievance welled up in her eyes. "Should we support him and understand him so that we lose all our money? Sister-in-law, I made you laugh. You go and work with the village chief first." Zhou Tong looked embarrassed. He really didn't want Ning 11 to see the scene and wanted to send Ning 11 away quickly. Ning 11 was not in a hurry to leave. She pondered for a while and asked, "Village chief, how many apricots are there in our village now?" The villager raised 3 fingers and said, "It's almost more than 30,000 kilograms. Boss, please see if you can help the whole family pick some. The apricots in the village are already ripe." If they are not picked, they will really spoil in the fields. You can help the whole family collect some, and everyone can at least get some money, so they won't lose sight of a penny. Ning 11 made some calculations in her mind before saying out loud, "Let everyone pick apricots. I want all the apricots in the village." "Boss, are you serious?" The village chief looked at Ning 11 excitedly, with a smile on his wrinkled old face. Zhou Tong frowned in embarrassment. "Sister-in-law, you don't have to be embarrassed, just take as much as you need." "Secretary Zhou, I have my own plan first. I will notify the villagers to pick apricots. I don't have many apricots at home. We will work harder to pick more apricots this afternoon and try our best to send me a batch of apricots early tomorrow morning." "Okay, I'll go right away." The village chief hurriedly walked out. The villagers were still blocking the door of Zhou Tong's house. When they saw the village chief, they all surrounded him again. "Everyone go back to pick apricots. Secretary Zhou has convinced the boss to all the apricots in our village have been harvested." A cunning old man knows how to please both sides. Zhou Tong's face turned dark. He finally called the village chief Sanbo, but the old man actually deliberately made him unable to get off. Now that the matter was resolved, he knew that the credit should be given to him. Mother Zhou stepped forward and thanked Ning 11, "Thank you, Miss Auntie, you're welcome. I just need apricots, so I accept apricots from the village." Ning 11 smiled slightly. "Well, you still have to be busy picking apricots. I won't bother you anymore. Sister-in-law, I'll give it to you." Zhou Tong was not a hypocritical person, nor could he say anything grateful, but this time she remembered Ning 11's favor. The apricots bought back will go bad if they are not processed in time, and if the opportunity is missed, those apricots will be smashed into their hands. When she returned to the village, Ning 11 didn't even enter her house. She immediately went to the village to find dozens of people, preparing to kill them. The family has also set up a workshop, and both parties are producing together, so as to distribute all the apricots in their hands as soon as possible. Zhou Tong sent Ning 11 back to Shanghe village, immediately returned to Yao Township, went directly to the police station, and sat down in the director's office. "Have you found the person I want?" The director stood aside and laughed with him. "Secretary Zhou, we are trying to figure out a way. It is true that Wang Ergu is a bastard, but we don't have any favorable evidence in our hands, and we can't bring people here casually." Zhou Tong slowly took off his glasses, picked up the pen on the table and turned it around casually. "I heard that Commander Wang is Wang Ergu's uncle." I can't hear you clearly." The director wiped his cold sweat and glanced at the glasses on Zhou Tong's desk. He almost forgot that Zhou Tong was not short-sighted. He put on the glasses so that he could see. "Be gentle, be kind, and every time he takes off his glasses, someone else is bound to suffer." Thinking of the feats Zhou Tong had performed in the past 2 years after he took office, the director shivered and wiped the cold sweat from his head. "Secretary Zhou, I will ask someone to bring Wang Ergu here." "What does Commander Wang mean?" "The most you can do if you offend Wang Commander is to be resented, but if you offend Zhou Tong, it's really the end. When he sits in this position, it is inevitable that people from all walks of life will try to please him privately, and it is common for them to give gifts and so on. If Zhou Tong gets involved in these matters, he will not only be thrown out of control, but he will not even be able to save his life." Half an hour later, Wang Ergu was arrested and brought to justice. At first, this kid was so arrogant that he relied on his strong background. He pointed at the police officers who came to investigate and insulted him. Finally, Zhou Tong slowly walked into the interrogation room. Wang Ergu he immediately became confused and huddled on the stool, not daring to say a word. Zhou Tong walked into the interrogation room and sat on the table regardless of his appearance. "Do you know who the person you are provoking is?" "No, I don't know." Wang Ergu shook his head quickly, but he was already extremely panicked. His uncle had warned him many times before that as long as he was in Yao Township, no matter how much mischief he wanted, his uncle could help him clean up the mess, but only Joe Tong cannot be provoked. This man's evil nature offends him, and no one can protect him. Joe Tong took off his glasses and took out a handkerchief from his pocket to wipe the mirror surface gently, as if he was describing a casual and ordinary thing. I believe your uncle must have said something to you. Who can you mess with in Yao Township? You can't mess with Joe Tong, because of his evil nature. Even the mayor won't be able to live well if he offends him. Wang Ergu was even more frightened and was so frightened that he could not even speak. Secretary Jojo, I didn't know that you had a relationship with those two mothers, little wives. If you knew, I would definitely not provoke them. I know I was wrong. Please give me a way to survive. Joe Tong raised his head and glanced at Wang Ergu casually. The person you offended is my former captain. Compared with him, my methods are nothing but a witch. If you want him to come and interrogate you in person, you will be willing to tell the truth. I don't mind inviting him over right away. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 57. Chapter 57 Ninghong's Dark History. It's Ninghong's father, Ning Dalong. He asked me to kidnap the mother, that girl. He said that our people should train the girl first and then send her to the city hospital so that the girl can give Ninghong a kidney transplant. Operation. Do you know Ninghong? Joe Tong knew Ninghong, the fool who abandoned Lunan. Ninghong and I were classmates in junior high school. We dated before, so, Secretary Joe, I really didn't know that girl had a relationship with your captain. I only helped her because of our previous friendship. Wang the dog stood up, bowed and cried, Secretary Joe, please, please help me speak a good word to your captain, please let me go. I will never dare to do it again. Have you ever dated her? When did it happen? Joe Tong's brows furrowed. Didn't that woman and Lunan make an engagement when they were very young? Why are you dating Wang Ergu again? Come together in the first grade of junior high school. First year of junior high school, Joe Tong's face turned even uglier. He looked at Wang Ergu with eyes full of hostility. His captain was actually raped by a gangster a few years ago. You forced her, that's definitely the case. If Wang Ergu and Lunan were put together, even a fool would choose Lunan. Joe Tong's eyes scared Wang Ergu to death, and his head shook like a rattle. No, no, I didn't force her. It was her initiative for us to be together, and it was her initiative to do that kind of thing. So Ninghong, who looks innocent and innocent, is actually a complete bastard, and she has slept with the gangster in front of her since junior high school. Joe Tong glanced at Wang Ergu angrily, stood up, and walked out of the interrogation room. The director hurriedly came up to him with a flattering look on his face. Secretary Joe, what should we do with Wang Ergu? Lock him up first. After saying these words, Joe Tong left the police station and drove back to Shanghe village. Ning 11 and the others were preparing to have dinner. When they saw Joe Tong coming, Ning 11 helped add a pair of bowls and chopsticks and asked Joe Tong to stay and finish the meal. After dinner, Lunan asked Joe Tong to accompany him for a walk. The two walked out for a while before Lunan asked, What's the matter? I can't just come and have a meal. Do you believe it? He just came here to have some food at noon, and even came here specially to have some food in the evening. Even Joe Tong himself didn't believe this. Joe Tong smiled awkwardly. My sister-in-law's matter has been found out. The person who attacked my sister-in-law was indeed sent by Wang Ergu. The person who asked Wang Ergu to do this was Ninghong's father. He wanted my sister-in-law to obediently give up her kidney transplanted to Ninghong. Let Wang Ergu train the person and then take him there. Joe Tong did not dare to say such things. He was afraid of angering Lunan, so he said this himself, and he would also be angered soon. A flash of understanding flashed in Lunan's eyes. It's really them. Did you guess it? You can probably guess it. Apart from Ning Dalong and the others, Ning 11 had no other enemies at all. Zhou Tong looked at Lu Nan and saw that he was not very emotional before continuing, "There is one more thing, I don't know whether I should say it or not. I like to talk but don't talk as long as he knows who wants to deal with his little wife, he doesn't bother to care about other things." Ning Hong and Wang Ergu were together when they were in the first year of junior high school. Zhou Tong glanced at Lu Nan again and found that he still hadn't changed much before he continued. Wang Ergu said that Ning Hong took the initiative to find him, and even when the two of them did that kind of thing, it was Ning Hong who took the initiative. Lu Nanfan asked calmly, "Is Wang Ergu's family very rich?" "His uncle is a political commissar, and the old man has been in the position of political commissar for 10 years. "That's right, Ning Hong has always been an inexperienced person." After enduring it again and again, Zhou Tong couldn't help but ask his doubts, "Aren't you angry? After all, she did those things when you were still an unmarried couple. If you had told me this 7 months ago, I might have been angry. Now, he has Ning 11. He has such a good girl, how can he be angry for an unrelated person? Moreover, after rebirth, he knows better than anyone what kind of person Ning Hong is. Relying on his father's identity, he wantonly hooked up with high-ranking officials and nobles. In the end, he couldn't even tell whose child he was carrying. He actually wanted to give birth to a child and force those people and the child to do a paternity test so that they could be sure that kid is in charge. Since the paternity test was unavailable, she once again targeted him and made her own decision to name the child Lu and make him the child's father. At that time, he did think about giving the child a status for her father's sake, at least not to embarrass the old chief. Fortunately, the old chief stopped him, otherwise Xiao 11 would not have gone to see him, and he would never know that he had a son and a daughter, let alone what kind of harm they had done to the little daughter-in-law he longed for. Zhou Tong saw Lu Nan so calm and believed that Lu Nan had really let go, so he continued to ask, "What should Wang Ergu do?" "Give his uncle some face and let him go. But the 4 people who hurt my wife must pay the price." "Okay." Zhou Tong paused and then said, "My sister-in-law has collected all the apricots in Zancan. Is it really okay? If you are afraid that we will lose money, you can help introduce some businesses. For example, you may intentionally or unintentionally reveal the news about the boom of my canned fruit business to the leaders of each township. Although it is clearly stipulated that employees within the establishment are not allowed to engage in business, there are no regulations. Family members are not allowed to engage in business." Lu Nan turned around in his wheelchair and looked at Zhou Tong. Although he was sitting in a wheelchair and Zhou Tong was standing, Zhou Tong still felt terribly small in front of him. "Your sister-in-law has a big heart. I think she will be dead in less than a year. If you can open a factory in Yao Township, it is impossible for you to support your family with the little money distributed by the government, repay your parents for their upbringing, and repay your siblings for their persistence. If you really want everyone to live well, you sister-in-law, this is a way out, as long as you dare to ask, she will agree." Leaving Shanghe village, Lu Nan's words kept lingering in his ears along the way. He thought of his sister's disappointed questions, and of his wife who gave up a superior life for him and changed from a young lady who had no fingers in the sunshine to a true-blooded young lady. Buttoned rural women. He works so hard at night so that his parents, sister, and wife can live a good life. But can he really enable them to live a good life with his small salary? The car stopped at the door of the police station again. Political Commissar Wang had been waiting inside for a long time. When he saw Zhou Tong, he begged Zhou Tong to spare Wang Ergu's life. As long as he spared Wang Ergu's life, he didn't ask for anything else. Zhou Tong gave Political Commissar Wang enough face, but also told him clearly that this was the face given to him by Lu Nan. After this incident, he also hoped that he would take good care of his nephew. If he provokes Ning 11 or anyone in the Lu family, then we can only settle the old and new accounts together. Political Commissar Wang thanked him profusely and took Wang Ergu away. The 4 people who had stopped Ning 11 and Zhang Ying were arrested overnight and charged with drug trafficking. Because of the huge number, the four people ended up with one peanut each. End of this chapter. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 58. The weather in July is like a furnace about to burn. Walking on the street, the harsh sunshine is scorching the earth, and exposed parts of the body such as the face and arms feel painful. Ning 11 put on her hat and long sleeves but was still blinded by the sun. It would be great if she could have a popsicle or a cup of fruit tea filled with ice cubes in this weather. When they arrived in the town, Ning 11 wanted to push Lunan to take a look at the textile factory. Because the weather was too hot, dried fish and spicy strips were not as easy to sell in the past 2 days, and canned fruits could be sold in a day. 30, 40 bottles. Most of the people who buy canned food are workers in textile factories. I heard from Zhang Ying that if you put the canned food in a well and freeze it, you can eat it. Buy a bottle and go back. When she arrived at the stall and didn't see Zhang Ying, Ning 11 asked, "Where is the second brother and second sister-in-law?" "In the back, I asked her to take shelter there." Lu He pointed to a forest in the back. He could see Zhang Ying sitting against a big tree with her eyes closed to rest. She had been tanned several times every day. "I couldn't eat anything due to the heat outside, and I lost a lot of weight." Lu He felt sorry for her, and every day after finishing his morning work, he would let her sit under the tree to rest while he would stand guard in front of the stall alone. "It's been too hot these days. If you don't take out a few goods in the morning, you'll have to put them away even if they're not finished in the morning." Lu He wiped the sweat from his face. "I thought so too. The weather is so hot. After the morning period, there are very few people coming out. There isn't much left, so just take it away. My aunt helped us find a house, so we just happened to go over and have a look." Ning 11 glanced at the dried fish and spicy sticks in the basket and began to help pack them away. "Xiaoning, I haven't seen you for several days." Aunt Jo came out of the textile factory and walked over happily when she saw Ning 11. "Aunt Jo, you look good lately." Out of a doctor's instinct, she smiled and said to Aunt Jo, "Isn't this all thanks to you?" Aunt Jo glanced at the stall she was cleaning up. "Are you ready to go back?" Ning 11 smiled and nodded, "Yes. It's too hot. I'm going to pack up and go back." "What to do with the rest?" "Take it back and give it away." The workers at home were also working hard, so they just took it back to reward everyone. "Aunt Jo, please wait for me for a while, and I will decorate it for you. Anyway, I will bring it back to give it away. Help me weigh 10 pounds each. My in-laws are here. I just want them to take them back and give them to my relatives to try. This is a good thing that we only have in Yao Township." Aunt Jo had not planned to buy it at first, but when she saw that Ning 11 and the others had left, "I ordered a lot of goods, so I thought I could help them share some of it." Ning 11 picked up the oil paper and filled Aunt Jo with spicy sticks. She weighed each of them 12 kilograms, and the extra 2 kilograms were given to Aunt Jo. "Aunt Jo, are there any vacant shops for rent along the way?" Ning 11 had thought about renting a shop before. At that time, she planned to wait until they moved to the town to implement it. The weather was too hot these days. If she rented the shop earlier, Zhang Ying and his wife would suffer less. Those who can get some popsicles, ice powder, and sour plum soup should be very popular. Aunt Jo pointed to the shops in front of her and said, "Here. There is a shop that has just been launched over there. The landlord happens to be from a textile factory. Want to rent it? Let me go and ask for it for you. Isn't there a guest at Aunt Jo's house? I won't waste your time. You can help me ask when you have time tomorrow." Aunt Jo smiled and agreed, "Okay, I'll ask in the morning tomorrow. I'll say hello directly to Xiao Lu and his wife." After chatting for a while, Aunt Jo left, and Lu He also called Zhang Ying over, and the four of them they entered Xiaobei Street nearby. At Lunan's request, the four of them stopped in front of a house. He pointed to Baohe Hall next to him. "Second brother, go call Aunt Yang." After Lu He left, Ning 11 looked at the house in front of her. This is a house with a single door and a single courtyard. The door of the house is locked and the inside cannot be seen from the outside. However, Ning 11 knows that this area is a courtyard house that is very large and can be used as a workshop. After looking at the house, Ning 11 asked aloud, "Does this house belong to Dr. Chen and the others?" Before Lu Nan could answer, and he had already come out. After hearing Ning 11's words, she smiled and replied, "This house belongs to our brother-in-law. Their family has gone to other provinces to develop." Zai said, "You are looking for a house." I think seeing that the house was empty anyway, I asked my brother-in-law what he wanted. He had no objections. His only request was that the old items in the house should not be damaged. These furnitures were left behind by the older generation of the Chen family. I wanted to leave them in my thoughts. While talking, Aunt Yang had already opened the door. "Let's go. Go in and take a look." Ning 11 stood at the door but did not go in. This house was very nice just from looking at it from the outside, but there was a high threshold at the door. It was too inconvenient for Lu Nan to live here. Flashing back in her mind was Lu Nan's embarrassment when he came in and out before the threshold was sawn at home. She said apologetically, "I'm sorry, and this house may not be suitable for us. Brother Nan's feet are not convenient." Lu Nan waved his hand nonchalantly, "I'm not in the way, and I won't be able to live here for long. Zai, come and help me take down the threshold," and he pointed to the threshold and directed Lu He to take it down. "This threshold is removable. When you move here, take down the threshold first. You can take it down later if you can't stand it anymore. Just close the door again and let's go in and check out the house. This house is very large, with more than 20 rooms, large and small, and 3 large yards in total. The furniture in the house is fully made of fine red lacquered wood. Such a good house, anyone who looks at it will be moved. Of course, there are also a lot of worries." Zhang Ying asked anxiously, "And how much does this house cost per month?" 6 yuan a month can be paid monthly, quarterly, or annually. In short, you can pay whatever is convenient for you. So cheap, Zhang Ying was shocked. When they set up the stall, they also inquired with the ants. Generally, small independent courtyards cost about 5 yuan a month, but those courtyards definitely cannot be compared with this courtyard. This yard is big and nice and only costs 6 yuan, which is really cheap. And he smiled and said, "That's the price of renting it to you. When outsiders come, let alone 6 yuan, they won't rent it for 600 yuan. Ning 11 liked the house very much. It was close to number 1 middle school and very convenient for studying. She smiled and said, "And we rented the house." "Sure," and he took off the key and handed it to Ning 11. "I have patients over there waiting for medicine, so I won't talk to you. I'll give you the key first. You can move here at any time. There's no contract or anything like that. I signed it because my family doesn't pay attention to that." And he was really in a hurry to leave, so she trotted away after speaking. "Do you want to see it again?" Lu Nan asked again. "No more, let's go to my aunt's house first." When Zhou Hui called in the morning, he told them to come over for lunch. Every time Zhou Hui cooked alone, it happened to be early today, so they went over to help cook together. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 59. Chapter 59, Get a Certificate. Coming out of the courtyard, Lu He took a few people out of Xiaobei Street on his bicycle. Lu Nan said aloud, "Second brother, go to the post office." Okay. Lu He didn't ask any questions and drove them to the post office. Lu Nan had trouble getting out of the car and asked Lu He to go in and pick up a registered letter for him. After getting the registered letter, Lu Nan asked, "Second brother, go to the civil affairs office." Everyone just assumed that Lu Nan had something to do, and no one asked any more questions. When they arrived, Ning 11 pushed him into the civil affairs office. The staff was also extremely hot. They were shaking the fans in their hands vigorously. When they saw someone coming in, they asked absent-mindedly, "What should I do?" Marriage certificate. Lu Nan took out 2 household registration books from his arms, opened the registered letter he just got from the post office, took out the marriage application inside and handed it to the staff. Marriage certificate. Ning 11's eyes widened. Was there something wrong with her ears, or was she hallucinating? "Didn't you say that without a marriage certificate, you are not considered a member of the Lu family?" Lu Nan glanced at her lightly and pushed a form in front of her. "Hurry up and fill it out. I will get off work in a while." After filling out the forms and going through various procedures, Ning 11 got 2 red notebooks. After coming out of the civil affairs office and riding a tricycle all the way to Zhenghua garment factory, Ning 11 was still in a trance, feeling like she was in a dream. Is it because she deliberately said in front of him a month ago that Ning Hong said that they did not have a marriage certificate and were not considered husband and wife? Is it because she said she was not from the Lu family? At that time, he did not answer her question directly. She thought that he was unwilling to get the certificate with her and deliberately ignored her words. It turns out that he took her words to heart and wrote a marriage application and sent it back to the army for stamping, but when was he written and when was he sent? The tricycle rode into the garment factory. Lu He parked the car and Lu Nan shouted, "Xiao 11 is getting off the car." Ning 11 finally came to her senses and jumped out of the car behind Zhang Ying. They went to the Civil Affairs Bureau, but they had forgotten when they came over. Lu Zhenghua and his family were already waiting for them. At the dinner table, Zhou Hui started nagging a few people, "Everyone in the town won't come over to eat. If I don't call you, you won't come over, right? Auntie, aren't we busy? Don't scold us, I'll share some good news with you." Zhang Ying glanced at Ning 11 and Lu Nan with a playful smile. Zionan and Xiao 11 just went to get their certificates. Chen Jing hurriedly smiled and congratulated the two of them. "It's true. Congratulations, you two are truly husband and wife with the marriage certificate, and they are protected by the law. This is indeed a happy event. Why don't you have a drink?" Lu Su picked up the wine glass and asked Lu Nan what he meant. Lu Nan smiled and refused, "I won't drink anymore. You can't get acupuncture or take medicine after drinking. This is good. It can be regarded as a formal status and guarantee for Xiao 11, so that she can follow you more securely." Lu Zhenghua smiled and nodded. The people in the Lu family are more enlightened than ordinary families. Lu Zhenghua and Lu Zhengxing, Secretary Lu, when they got married, they all applied for a marriage certificate at Lu Zhenghai's suggestion, and when the 2 children at home got married, they also applied for a marriage certificate. The reason why Lu Zhenghai didn't apply for a marriage certificate with Yang Yufeng was because he and Yang Yufeng had such a great time in the first few years after their marriage that they couldn't think of getting a marriage certificate. Later, Yang Yufeng tricked him into drinking Albizia Julibrisin again. Alcohol, and indirectly, his parents, made him hate her even more, and he was even more unwilling to get a certificate with her. Anyway, everyone in the village had spent their whole lives without getting a certificate, so he could just live his life like this. When they arrived at Lu Nan's place, there was a substitute marriage and endless quarrels at home. Everyone looked at the appearance of the two of them, and no one stood up to persuade Lu Nan to get the certificate. They just wanted to wait until the two of them had a child without quarreling. The troublemakers then persuaded them to get their certificates. "Just get the certificate." Zhou Hui used a spoon to serve some chicken to Ning 11. "Xiao 11, eat more. The 2 children need a lot of nutrition." Zhang Ying also smiled and gave Ning 11 a few pieces of ribs. Yes, eat more." Chen Jing also smiled and asked, "It's been almost a month, have you had any reaction?" Ning 11 smiled and shook her head, not yet. Eat as much as you can now. In a few days, you won't be able to eat any more. Zhou Hui then gave Ning 11 some more ribs and refused to stop until Ning 11's bowl was piled up into a small hill. Is your mother making trouble at home again these days? Ning 11 also looked at Lunan with her peripheral vision. She had been setting up a stall outside in the morning. She didn't know if Yang Yufeng had come to the house to cause trouble. She wanted to ask, but she was afraid that he would be unhappy. Lunan put the fish meat with shaved fish bones into Ning 11's bowl and responded slowly, I came here once and said that we were too busy to even cook, so I wanted to come over and help my mother cook. My dad just said no need. Zhou Hui sighed. At this moment, she thought your dad was still angry and wouldn't make trouble. When he found out that your dad was serious about it, he would definitely call the Yang family people over to make trouble. Now that the family is doing business, how can it be done? It's worth it for them to make trouble. These dads know it, so they are willing to pay attention to her. At least this way, she will only think that her dad is still angry and will not really come to the house to cause trouble. What about the future? Will she stop making trouble after a long time? Lu Zhenghua took a sip of wine. The truth is separate, and delaying it like this is not the answer. At least until Zioxi starts school. After Zioxi starts school, we will all move to the town. Even if she wants to make trouble, she can't find anyone. I'll have to go to school to make trouble then. Lu Zhenghua sighed helplessly and changed the subject. How is your leg? I feel some pain. Lunan raised his lips slightly. His daughter-in-law was a very powerful doctor. His injuries were nothing to her. Her daughter in her previous life inherited her legacy and her medical skills were quite impressive. His son and daughter offered to treat his leg, but he refused. He did too many wrong things at that time, which made her suffer a lot. Not being able to stand up was considered a punishment for him. Really, this made the people at the table extremely happy. Lu Su even reached out and patted Lunan's leg. Does it hurt? Hiss. Lunan took a breath of cold air and turned a little pale. Lu Zhenghua's face changed on the spot. Zioxu, what are you doing? You boy, why are you doing something so heavy-handed? Zhou Hui glared at Lu Su and hurriedly stepped forward to check Lunan's condition, but she could only wait on the sidelines for Ning 11 to check Lunan. Ning 11 squatted in front of Lunan and gently pressed his leg. Lunan groaned, obviously feeling a little hurt. This made Zhou Hui very anxious. Why is this happening? Xiao 11, you didn't even try hard. It's okay. Ning 11 stood up before continuing, Brother Nan's nervous system is slowly recovering now. Some people will develop pain sensitivity during the recovery period, which means that the pain is infinitely amplified. Before, just touching a few would be enough. It hurts all the time. I'll readjust the prescription when I go back in the afternoon. End of this chapter. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 60. Oh. It scared me to death. I really thought I was too harsh. Lu Su sighed. His face turned pale just now. It was hard for their baby brother's legs to react. If he was really allowed to take the photo, anyway, how can he face his younger brothers and sisters? How can he face his third uncle? At this moment, Lunan rolled his eyes at Lu Su. I'm not made of tofu and farts. I can even break it if I slap it. Be polite, whatever you say at the dinner table is nothing, let's eat first. As soon as Zhou Hui spoke, everyone sat down to eat. After dinner, when Ning 11 and the others were preparing to go back, Chen Jing came up to Ning 11 and said, Xiao 11, I have worked overtime to make more than 3,000 shirts according to your drawings in the past few days. Your elder brother will go to the city to deliver them the day after tomorrow. We will bring the goods with them when they come out. Your elder brother said that we can't use your samples in vain. As long as the shirts made from your samples are used, you will get a commission. Brother is going to the city the day after tomorrow, Ning 11 didn't care about the commission, but was more concerned about Lu Su going to the city. Is there anything you want to bring? I'm going to the city to buy 2 sealing machines. I don't know if it's convenient for my second brother to take people with me in the car. Ning 11 is going to make spicy strips and dried fish into bags, so that they can be shipped more easily, so she can make more. It's not easy to break, and the bagged ones don't need to be weighed on the spot, which saves you some trouble. Then let's go together. The day after tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't matter if it's later. Let him wait for you. Then I'll trouble you, brother and sister-in-law. Ning 11 took the bus to the city and bought a sealing machine but couldn't bring it back. She happened to go with Lu Su and could use a truck to drag the sealing machine back. Chen Jing smiled and waved her hands. It's all about the family saying it's troublesome or not. On the way back, Ning 11 proposed to go to the city to buy a sealing machine, and also told them about her plan to pack spicy strips and dried fish into bags. Lu Nan did not raise any objections, and neither Zhang Ying nor Lu He had any objections. It's still the same attitude as before, just let Ning 11 make the decision in everything. It just so happened that Ning 11 also wanted to take advantage of several opportunities to register a trademark and make her products more formal, so she took Lu Bei to the Industrial and Commercial Department early the next morning. About this time, the country was encouraging everyone to register trademarks. The registration process was surprisingly smooth. Whether it was filling in the information or completing the procedures, there were people who guided me politely. All the procedures were completed in only 20 minutes. The brand name Ning 11 registered for their brand is Ning Mi Aizi. This name was proposed by Zhang Ying, and everyone in the family raised their hands in agreement. After coming out of the Industrial and Commercial Department, Ning 11 took Lu Nan to find Zhang Ying. Yesterday, Ning 11 had said that she could close the stall as long as she was busy after the morning period, so there were not many goods brought out today. Most of them were sold out in the morning, and the rest some Zhang Ying is made and given to other vendors. Ning 11 and Lu Bei were at the market today. After collecting the stalls, the couple did not leave in a hurry. They stood aside and chatted with everyone. Early this morning, Aunt Jo had already helped Ning 11 and the others contact the landlord of the shop. Zhang Ying couldn't make the decision on her own, so she and Aunt Jo agreed to wait until Ning 11 came over to see the shop together. At this moment, Ning 11 came over, and Zhang Ying immediately asked Lu He to go to the textile factory to invite Aunt Jo and the landlord. The landlord's surname was He, who was in his 40s and was a frequent visitor to Ning 11's house. Old He took them into the shop. Sister Ning, we are so familiar with each other, so I won't bid you a price. I asked the shops around this morning, and the prices are all the same. It's 150 yuan a year, and my shop is bigger than other shops, so I can pay this price. Ning 11 looked around the shop. The shop was very clean and could be used with a little tidying up. She nodded and said, "Okay, brother He, let's see when we can sign the contract." Yesterday, Ning 11 inquired with the surrounding shops. The prices of the shops were between 150 to 200. A shop like Lao He's would cost at least 200. Lao He had indeed made a lot of concessions to her. It would be unkind of her to continue bargaining. Lao He smiled and said, "Anytime." "Then sign it now." The two wrote an agreement and signed it. Lao He handed the key to Ning 11, and Ning 11 took out 150 from her pocket and handed it to Lao He. After locking the shop, Ning 11 asked Lu He to measure the size at the door and took them to Linzan. She is going to a printing shop to order signs, as well as stickers for bags of spicy strips and dried fish, as well as packaging stickers for canned fruits. At this time, there were not many printing shops in the entire Sichuan province. The closest one to them was in Linzan. It was said that people from the surrounding towns could only come here if they wanted to print things. After riding for an hour and a half, we finally arrived at Linzan. After asking around the town, we found the location. It was already noon. The four of us found a place and had a luxurious bowl of seafood noodles before wandering around. Go into a print shop. There was only one young man in the print shop. Looking at the 25-6-year-old man, he didn't even raise his head when he saw a few people coming in. He was typing on the keyboard. "What are you doing?" Ning 11 replied, "Making shop signs and packaging bag stickers." "I started making signs here at 50. The boss glanced at Ning 11, his voice was lazy and a bit arrogant. "Starting at 50, Liu Bei shouted, "It's just as expensive as a sign. With this little money, you can't even buy a single part of my equipment. Do you want to do it? If not, go out and don't disturb my work here." Ning 11 frowned. This attitude was too bad. If there wasn't only one printing shop nearby, she would have left directly. "Do it." Ning 11 took out her notebook and put the sign design and stickers she drew last night on the counter. "Just do what I drew. In this day and age, cats and dogs all know how to design." The boss frowned before he finished speaking. He suddenly grabbed the drawing and looked at it carefully. The more he looked at it, the more he frowned, and his face became more and more ugly. After a long time, then he asked aloud, "Have you studied design?" "I have read relevant books." Ning 11 has never studied design, let alone read such books. She has only read a lot of advertisements and trademarks, so she knows a lot. "Would you like to come work for me? I can give you everything I know. The salary is 35 a month, no, 40, no, 50 a month. Our daily income is at least 1,500. Zhang Ying looked at the boss arrogantly, so relieved that they finally got back 10% in front of this boss. There was a flash of disappointment in the boss's eyes, but he did not feel embarrassed because Zhang Ying got back 10%. He calmly discussed various details and prices with Ning 11. After finishing it, he said, "It can be done in 3 days. I won't go out. You can take the sign back and install it yourself." If this was done in the future, people would provide installation with a good attitude and also provide after-sales service. However, this is the way it is in this era. Ning 11 had no way to force people to deliver the goods to his door and also provide installation services. "Okay, we will come over by ourselves then. Take." After paying the money and coming out of the print shop, Ning 11 took a few people to go shopping. This was her first time in town and she had to go shopping. Linzhen is close to the sea. There are fish sellers wherever you go. Even the air has a fishy smell. The price of fish here is very cheap. Ning 11 bought a few pickled cured fish, 2 grass carps, and got some crayfish. Haunted around for a while, got in the car and drove slowly home.